Hello everyone. Welcome to the presentation of the 8th homework assignment for Group 2, the Process Pioneers, in which we will be discussing the results of the application of resource leveling to the refined baseline budget for the research vessel project. My name is Logan Ransom, and I'm the project manager for the week. The rest of our team members are Abdurrafi, Daniel, Reagan, Praneeth, and Sarah. The goal for the week was to level the resources of the previously presented refined baseline budget. The goal of resource leveling is to minimize the fluctuation in loading. In this case, the goal was to ensure the proper resources needed to complete all the tasks for the project were available in such a way as to reduce the refined baseline budget hiring and firing costs. Using the same man hours as the baseline budget, tasks were shifted around according to the previously presented slack table in order to mitigate the need for unnecessary hiring and firing costs. As seen in the two tables between the baseline and leveled budgets, hiring and firing costs as well as overall budget expenses decreased by roughly $13,000 as a result of the leveling. Presented here is the baseline refined budget. This budget, along with the supporting network chart, showed resource demand to be fairly spread out for the entirety of the 5 months of the project for each subsystem task. The goal was to narrow the time scope of each subsystem task to within a given month in order to smooth out the labor demand. This is a graphic of the baseline network with given potential start and end time frames for each of the subsystems for the project. This would later be manipulated according to the amount of slack available per subsystem in order to smooth out the resource demand. Baseline budget labor needs were calculated based on the weekly labor budget. This calculation excluded the labor needs for the project team as designated in the assignment, which primarily contributed to the month 1 costs. The values you see in the table were computed by taking the total outlined labor cost per category for each month and dividing by 160 hours, as that is the traditional amount for work on a per person basis for a month. These calculations revealed that the labor demands for the baseline budget were fairly spread out in each of the 3 worker categories, and the goal later would be to condense this to lower the overall hiring and firing costs. Pictured here is the leveled version of the network chart. Below the chart is the timeline describing the anticipated start date of each of these subsystem tasks based on the leveling that was conducted. So slack from the baseline network was manipulated in order to weight a majority of the labor needs towards the middle of the project, as opposed to balancing or favoring the extremes. And you can see that in the timeline as a majority of the tasks occur with start dates between 40 days and 119 days. So then from the leveled network, leveled budget labor needs were calculated based on the weekly labor budget shifted to account for the new start dates based on the previously shown leveled network chart. This calculation also excluded the labor needs for the project team as designated in the assignment, which only contributed to month 1 costs in this case. The values were computed using the same methodology as previously stated, and these calculations revealed that the labor demands for the leveled budget were much more concentrated in the middle of the project. As you can see, a majority of the labor demands in this chart show that they occurred in months 2, 3, and 4. Based on the leveled labor demands, a leveled budget was created using the same hiring and firing costs as proposed in the previous assignment. The key takeaways here are that the total labor and supply costs remain unchanged, as the only tool utilized was shifting the labor around, not changing the required labor or supplies. In conducting the leveling, mid-loading the project was seen to save significant totals in hiring and firing costs, as well as overall budget. In conclusion, the leveling process of the resource demand, while it tightens the schedule and allows for less slack in subsystem activities, allowed for significant savings in costs. Hiring costs decreased $7,652.51. Firing costs decreased $6,027.39, and the overall budget cost decreased $13,679.90. This led to significant savings for the overall project.